All right, stop what you're doing. Don't click next. Don't keep scrolling. This is a conversation that, look, I'll change that. If you have an opinion that you don't want to hear something that might change your life, if you're in a sensitive place right now that you can't handle somebody telling you how it really works, maybe you should scroll on. I've got somebody with me today who is all about changing people's lives. He tells it like it is. He's a great storyteller, and man, I am so honored to sit with this gentleman. If you don't know Frank Montro, you don't know real estate. Thanks for joining us. This is Coffee is for Closers. I'm your host, Tim Brigham. Frank, thank you for joining us today.
Thanks for having me on, Tim. I appreciate it. And I'd like to start off by saying realtors in general suck. Do I have your attention, folks? Listen up. So this is
I warned you.
This is what drives me crazy. Is the average realtor out there, and especially when the market went wild post-COVID, all these, or I call them order takers. You know, table 3, sunny side up, ding, ding. Look, real estate is more than taking an order. But a lot of these people out there, they're only interested in getting a paycheck.
Yeah.
And I could tell you the worst story, and this was back in the 90s. I've been in the business for 40 years. The worst story was this lady showed a property, one of my listings, and disappears. You know, David Copperfield's on us.
Okay.
So I ended up helping the buyer, doing the final walkthrough. You know, we're like, where's the buyer's agent? And even the buyer's attorney couldn't get a hold of the buyer's agent. So lo and behold, 20 minutes into closing, the door swings open. Hi, I'm so-and-so. And we're like, yeah, we know who you are. And she goes, I'll be in the lobby. Let me know when my check's ready. And so the buyer says to me, she goes, she looks at me, she goes, I just fired my agent. You're hired. And the whole place just like roared. And I mean, the agent didn't even have the door closed. So I'm sure she heard the whole thing. She didn't even care, man. But can you imagine one of the most important points? It was a first-time home buyer, single mom, and just an important milestone in this lady's life. Wouldn't you want to be there to help them, to get them to experience the joy? I mean, closings are just, things are a little bit different now with COVID, but especially back then, it's like where it's at. But yeah, in general, realtors, for the most part, there's a reason why there's a top 1%. And then there's a lot of other agents that just plain out suck because all they care about is themselves. You know, when you get into the league, when you start hanging out with top 1% producers, the conversation, the narrative changes. It changes from me to you, to them, to us. It becomes a search. It becomes a helping you if you were a client of mine. Let me help you self-discover what you really need. A lot of times people come to me and they're like, I want to buy a house, and I'm like, why? Why is that important to you? And then I get them to convince themselves, because who do you believe more than anybody else? Yourself,
right?
We agents in general have like an untrusting connotation we're attached to us for the most part. Unless people know us, if we're a stranger, they're going to proceed with caution. So
let's unpack this, right?
Yeah.
So, and for the audience, I warned you, right? He's coming out firing right out the gate. It's not going to get better. It's going to get worse. So if this hurts your feelings, you're going to want to tune in. You want to skip right now, okay? We're getting into it. Look, I can't agree with you more. I find that in the mortgage space, in the realtor space, in this environment, is there a lot of money on the line? Yeah. Oh yeah. Is there life-changing money on the line? For most cases, yeah. When you get into, I can only use myself as an example, but it's common, right? You get into this, you don't know anything about it. You know that you can make a decent living, an incredible living, and so you get focused on that in the beginning to try and prove that you belong. So then you buy the car, you buy the clothes, you do the stuff, and then you think that it's this lifestyle. What you just said is exactly right. When you get around the people who are consistent, the ones who are always top producers, top of the list, you find that they talk about real estate a lot differently than those who aren't. They put a real serious emphasis on, this is where people put their kids to sleep. Mm-hmm. This is where we change somebody's life. Right?
I'm not selling. When I tell my agents, when you walk through a home, you're not selling just the finishes. Like, yeah, you point out the finishes, but here's how we sell a home on the Frank Montro Homes team, is we're going to go in and we're going to get them to self-discover, is this house really fit their lifestyle?
Yeah.
And trust me. So here's how. I'll give you an example. So I learned this I learned this back in the 80s when I'm showing houses and I'm dealing with top producers back then, so I'd shadow them and they walk through living room, kitchen, dining room, bathroom. Oh, this is the bathroom? Oh, thank God. I didn't know this. I thought this was a kitchen. I mean, come on, man. But that's the value that they were bringing, man.
Right.
So then I thought to myself, I didn't know any better. I didn't have all these teachers and all this help and all these videos and YouTube that has everything that you can imagine about real estate. Instead, I had to figure everything out by myself. So what I realized was, why I'm just a tour guide when I do that.
Yeah.
And I might as well just sit in the car and say, go ahead and walk through. I mean, everybody knows what a kitchen is. Oh, thanks for letting me know. Man, I was going to use the kitchen sink to relieve myself. I mean, so
yeah,
I thought to myself, how can I bring more value, Tim? And then I realized I got to get them to tell me how they're going to live in the room.
Yeah.
So then I walk in, I'm like, okay, guys, here's the living room. Where would you put the TV? How big is your TV screen? And back then, I would actually carry a tape measure. So I would have, like if they had two kids, and they said, hey, our couch is 8 foot, I'd have them one grab the one end of the tape, and the other one grab the retractor end. And so they would sit there and they're laughing, they're giggling. So I get everybody involved. I said, you know what? That's kind of tight over there. You cool with that? And they're like, no, we need something bigger. So I said, all right. So this room's only 15 feet long. So we're gonna need something at least probably 17 to 18 feet long, or without that angled corner. Because without that angled corner, we'd have a lot more room. So I've
heard a lot of stories. I have never had an agent. I can't believe I'm just realizing this now. I've never had an agent think about, okay, how big's your TV? Where's it going to go? All right, let's figure that out together now. I mean, that's brilliant.
Nobody taught me that, and nobody. Every time it's funny. Every time I bring that up, people are like, "Wow, man, that's brilliant, man." And it was just common sense, because I just look. I came. So I wasn't born with a silver spoon in my mouth. I had to fight for everything that I had. And so I've always had that dog in me, that I've always had that, I wasn't the fastest kid in sports. I wasn't, but I became really good at like golf and baseball because I worked and I learned the value of hard work. But I'll get back to that in a second. But,
do you see this?
Yeah.
Do you see this? I'm going to pause here. Do you see this? This is what we're talking about. This is what it means to be a top producer for me. And it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter the math. This is what it means. That is passion. That is somebody who actually believes in every single thing that they do. And they just can't believe that they're here every single day and wake up proud of the accomplishments that they have. Yeah. That is what a top producer is to me.
I really, here's the thing too. I'm not an awards guy.
Yeah.
I have a hard time walking on stage, hard time getting awards. What drives me is like when I can take a single mom and get her into her house. That's what drives me. I remember this is where I was 2 years in the business, and I was, I realized the value of just helping people, and surrounding myself with great partners, great vendors, whether it's lenders, home inspectors, all this stuff. Everything they got to be the best of the best. So, one day I'm showing this house to this couple, and they have one kid, and so it's a 2-bedroom, small 2-bedroom house, and we're in the halfway through the middle of it. And they're like, you know what, we want a bigger house. We just decide. I'm like, okay, no problem. So we change. We go back to our buyer's consultation, redo that. Meanwhile, the single mom is behind them, came along for the ride, and she's looking around like this. She's looking around like, this is the Taj Mahal, baby. So I looked at her and I said, this is your home, isn't it? And she goes, oh man, I'd love to have this house. But see, my lender down the street at 87th and Stony Island, he told me that, now keep in mind, this is in like 1985, that they don't lend to single moms. So I started checking. Yeah, real story. So check this out. So I said, do you like me? Do you think, because I'm kind of, I always give a really fun tour, high energy.
Yeah.
So she goes, oh yeah, you're a lot of fun. More importantly, do you trust me? She goes, yeah. I said, well, how about if we go to one of my lenders? Would you? She goes, yeah. So she comes out of closing. She comes out of the closing, Tim. And this is when I realized this was something special. She looks up, tears coming down her eyes, and she goes, thank you, God. And that,
it's spiritual, man.
That was a game changer for me. That's when I realized, man, I know I belong here. I know. So here's a little bit of background of me. I was chasing money.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, what do I want to do? What do I want to do? So I was really good. I'm really good at numbers. So I'm like, okay, I'll be an accountant. Back then in the 80s, partners were making $200,000 a year for the big 8 accounting firms. I got hired by Arthur Andersen, was arguably the number one company at the time. That and Price Waterhouse. So they both wanted me. I went with Arthur. And I was there for 3.5 years. They treated me like freaking gold.
Mm-hmm.
Arthur was, they're all great companies. It's just that I was empty inside.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, I can't. I remember calling my dad up one day, and I said, I can't do this anymore. I just can't.
Yeah.
I'm just not having any fun, Dad. I'm just
You had a great
sad.
purpose that was calling you.
Yeah. So here's the thing. So I got out and I got in real estate, and I'm like, yeah, this, and I found my path in life. Here's the thing, though. I took the DISC test, and I took the advanced version.
Yeah.
And it tells you like 1 to 50 what you'd be really good at, what you're not, and 50 would be what you're not supposed to be doing. Number 48 was accounting. I'm like, son of a, if I only knew, man. So yeah, so I encourage everybody when they say, like that's part of my ending here too, as far as like pro tips, is find out where, find your lane. If you find your path, what you match up with and we're all designed differently by God for a purpose. So, but it's our responsibility to find out what we're designed for. And the worst thing you can do is chase money. Because if you chase what you're really good at, what you're here for, the money will come. Because, you're passionate, and it's like people are like, man, you're 66 years old. Dude, where do you get all your energy? How do you do all this? I'm like, man, I just love what I'm doing, man. I get excited. I get up in the morning. I'm like, let's go, man.
Yeah.
I'm like, if you don't have that passion as an agent, I would recommend that you first and foremost take a personality test.
Yeah.
The DISC test is, so I know there's all these different tests. I like the DISC test because it's simple, and it kind of tells you where you're at, and it explains how you act and explains how you're supposed to treat other people. I like that because it's all these like different. So
Frank, everybody that we hire at my current organization, we require them to take it, right?
Yeah,
the DISC test is the most powerful thing you can take.
I think so.
I'm a 97D, right? And when I learned about myself, which I knew, but I didn't know, and I'm reading the sheet, without question, if you have not taken a DISC test, you need to do this for your own benefit, right? It'll tell you who you are in a very, very, very blunt response, right? Yeah. I learned that I only have 2 speeds. It's either it's off or it's on. I don't have an in between. I'm either all in or I'm all out, right? And
I love it.
You learn how to use your gifts, right?
I love it. Yeah, it even said how to approach me. So it said, when you go into his office, present the facts and get out as fast as possible. Don't tell any story, anything. And then
He's lost me halfway through, right?
Right. So then I get the what do you call it? They have like the person, the analyst or whatever.
Yeah.
So he comes in and he goes, "You're 99 plus high D." I'm like, "Oh, you're a strong like bull." I'm like, "Yeah." So I'm like, "Yeah, let's go. What's up? What's next? What's up?" So then he goes, "Well, now let's go over your negatives." I'm like, "Yeah, this will take about 0.2 seconds."
Right.
So he goes, "Your biggest, negative is that you're oversensitive." And it just came out of my mouth. I just said, "Bullshit." And he goes, "Gotcha."
Yeah.
And I was like,
you don't
oh
even
my
know
God.
it.
I
You
was
don't
like,
even
I
know
came
it.
out of the studio. I like flagged the first agent down. It was a guy by the name of Andy. Andy, come here. I said, "Am I oversensitive?" And he goes, "Okay, real funny, dude." I called my wife up. She goes, "I'm at work." I said, I don't care. I need to know. I said, "Am I oversensitive?" She said, "We'll talk when we get home."
I love it.
Dude, I freaked out, man. But then but here's where it helped. This is why it's important to get this test. I didn't realize that. And so being a high D, I'm very confrontational, and I've learned to tone that down. Mm-hmm. That helped me grow up. And what that did is that helped me realize that, most of the time when I'm getting mad at somebody, I'm overreacting. Mm-hmm. And so then how I find out is I self-discover, because I'll ask, "Hey, did you really mean this?" Because that's the way I took it. And they're like, "No, no, silly. I didn't mean it. What are you, crazy?" So that helped me keep a lot of relationships. So yeah, man, the DISC test is righteous, man. I mean, it's important because we're not born with a book describing ourselves or with a roadmap. We have to
no instructions.
No instructions. We have to go find it. We have to go figure it out, man. And they've got these tests out there that can get you from 0 to 100 to understand how you're really made. And then you can match a job up with your personality.
Yeah, and it's okay. It's okay to learn that maybe you're better suited for the I've done tests with my teams, and we figure out where they're the best suited, right? And we can have a civil conversation and go, "Let me ask you something." And you ask pointed questions based off of what this test is telling you. And when you get to a good place where you agree upon it, you go, "Listen, man, this is where you're a genius. This is where you're really good."
And you'll be happy, too.
One of my mentors in the mortgage business, Tom Matthew, who's no longer with us, rest in peace, my friend. Miss you every day. He said, "It doesn't matter what you say, it's what the person hears." And I said, "What do you mean?" He goes, "Well, you can be dead right, but if the person doesn't hear the way that you meant to say it, you're not as powerful as you think you are. You can walk away from the conversation being right, but you didn't accomplish your goal."
That is powerful, man. That's
right?
Yeah, when when they talk about match and mirror, with people and approach them with communicate at their level. It's like especially us, since we're high Ds, we're 10% of the population. So people don't understand us. People think we're bad people. And that was the other thing too, is I walked away from that thinking, I'm not a bad person, because there'd always be that thought in the back of my head, why did you treat that person that way? Why'd you say that? And I'm like, what's wrong with me, man? And it's just then understanding that I'm a high D personality and I'm oversensitive and I'm prone to be confrontational. I've toned that down dramatically. That DISC test was a life changer for me, but it also confirmed that I'm in the right lane. Yeah. And so a lot of people will, "Hey, I want to be a realtor, man, because I want to make $1 bazillion." And then when they get in and they're not, they're not producing. It's because they don't belong there. It's not because they're bad people. It's not because they're losers. It's because their talents and their personality are not there for that job. So they're not motivated. They don't get excited. Like you and I with what we're doing, we're in the lane that we need to be in.
Amen.
And so you're right on, bro. So
let's get into it, right? For those that are unacquainted with who you are, right? I love the beginning of the show, but let's talk about numbers, right? Who are you, Frank? What do you typically do in a year, or how are you involved in real estate?
Yeah. So So I've been in business for 40 years. I've closed over $2 billion worth of real estate, and usually do in the neighborhood of 300 to 450 transactions a year. A lot of it, now is being off market because we're getting more in the wholesale end as well too. So, and we're, depending on how many transactions we close. See, I'm different because I'm not the, like I'll get on stage with these top performers and they're closing 10, 12, 18 transactions, and I'm closing 400 transactions, closing, anywhere from 65 to 90 million dollars, and they're doing the same or more volume-wise, or I mean not volume-wise, dollar-wise, because they're closing $2-3 million homes. I started off, my average price point was $150,000, and now it's roughly around $277,000. So I'm still like, they call me the back in 2001, there's a guy that labeled me the king of the South Side because I do so much volume in low to moderate areas, and I'm kind of the champion to that market.
Yeah.
So when I get introduced, a lot of people introduce me on stage as the king of the South Side. It's, do I like it? I kind of, yes. I mean, yes, but I also want people to know I sell in other areas. So it's good and bad, because then, I'll talk to investors. Oh, I thought you only did the South Side. Can I give you this listing of the North Side? I'm like, yeah. But then I just look at it as, it's just a talking point.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a talking point when I meet with people. Yes, you are talking to the king of the South Side, baby. But the king also does take a show on the road and go to other places.
So it's interesting, right? I just actually posted recently on social media asking the question about, the show's about top producers. It's really getting behind the scenes and hearing, how people got to where they are. But there's such a question around the term top producer. What does that mean? And a lot of people have different opinions. I asked the question simplistically. I said, listen, as an industry, how do we define it? Do we look at how many units, or do we look at total volume? And I have the same opinion where I start to question, okay, you did 18 transactions and you did, 350, right? Like, where does that...
I got a strong opinion on that. So
yeah, go ahead.
Here's my opinion on that. My opinion is longevity.
Okay.
Now, and I'll tell you why. Like, when BlackRock came into town,
mm-hmm.
I know agents that, and I was one of the 5 agents interviewed.
Okay.
And they wanted me to drop everything I was doing and go sell my soul to them. And I'm like, yeah, no.
When was this?
Oh, gosh, this was, that's a good question. Probably back in the early 2000s.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so they came in. So there's a lot of agents that were, all of a sudden, boom, there were like 250 transactions a year. But see, I knew when I listened to their business model, I said, hey, no offense, Dallas. I said, but I'm looking at your model here. You've got about a 2-year run here with this model. And so, in my humble opinion, and that's exactly what happened, is that and they were actually starting to back out of transactions at the end because they realized that they were overspending. They weren't, how they did their price points was insane. But the more importantly is that those people became top producers overnight. Were they really top producers? They got, and then their numbers went back down. So being I look at it as, from my perspective, what I look at as a top producer is somebody that does it for a long time. Look, I mean, there's a lot of people that made a lot of money when the market was great. What are you doing now? I mean, so, you see a lot of,
Yeah, consistency.
This is what
consistency.
I love this,
Yeah.
All this camera nonsense. So people are just throwing up, selfies and then they're like quoting God, is finally hearing my prayers, and God, and I'm like, I'm looking at their posts. I'm like, yeah, all right, we'll see how this goes a year from now when this market cools off. And guess what we got? Crickets. And these people, these agents, these order takers that use their outward appearance with selfies to attract people, you're not going to get anybody in the long run. If you don't have your excessive value nailed down, then people are going to see right through you eventually.
Yep, right.
And if you can't provide, look, all I do is provide excessive value. My definition of success is this, and I'll get back to your thing because I'm just going off. My definition of success is like almost violently laser focused and staying in the moment, doing the activity that I'm supposed to be doing in that moment that I am designed and wired to come into this world to do, and just stacking my days every day, and that's over time. See, the problem is, these agents, they want easy, so
the activity you do today will get you paid in 90 to 120 days.
That's the rule is,
right. That so many people have this wrong, that they think that I'm going to make like to your point, a selfie, stand in front of $1 million listing, do these videos,
drive a fancy car.
Don't get me wrong. I'm in the space too. You are too. We do those things. We do videos. We try and educate. That's
sure, absolutely.
The whole point is to stay out in the community, but that doesn't replace skill. That doesn't replace value. That doesn't you can't do one and not have the other. You have to have a value prop. You have to have a consistent work ethic. You need to have something that is, to be honest with you, in my opinion, is a little more old school these days in comparison to some of this AI ChatGPT environment we're in. Those are resources. Yeah. They're value adds, but they are not value replacements, right?
Yeah, exactly. So what agents don't understand is that this is a long game.
Yep.
This is a marathon. They want instant. They want, I want the magic pill. What can I buy to automate my business? Well, you need to have business to automate first of all.
Correct.
So I've learned that when I first got into business. Here's a perfect example. I first got into business last day of June 1983. I didn't know. I knew one person in Chicago when I came up here. That was my college roommate. We were competition, so it wasn't really like I knew him or I can get any business off him.
Yeah.
So. All I did was I was given a book, white pages about this high.
Okay.
I was given a rotary phone, and I had a pager, and I had a pocket, like a little pocket folder type thing with quarters, dimes, and nickels for pay phones. That's all I had.
Wow.
That was it, baby. And so guess what I did? Is I wrote myself a note. Last
sounds like
June.
Glenn Ross. Just saying.
Oh, really?
Okay. That's what this sounds like.
Oh,
right?
I didn't know that.
They got to go out to the payphone. They got to make their calls with the court, right?
All right. Well, then that would be similar.
Yeah.
So I wrote myself a note saying that for I'm going to give myself 1 year.
Okay.
In this business, and I will cold call from 9 o'clock in the morning to 9 o'clock at night, 6 days a week. And on the 7th day, I go to church, and then I play golf if the weather's good.
Yeah.
So that being said. I did do that, and I wasn't doing anything in the beginning because I was just told call people. I wasn't given any sophisticated scripts or anything. I was told just call and ask people if they want to buy or sell a house. So after a while, I'm like, this kind of returns are rough. So then I started getting a lot more sophisticated, and I learned the longer I can keep somebody on the phone, the better I have a chance of listing their house or getting them to buy a house. And then I started door knocking, and then I had like wild, returns on that. And so, I would say that if I hadn't done that, I wouldn't have been successful. But learning to, first of all, I'm a hard worker anyway. So, this is a business that requires hard work. If you want to be a top producer, you want to come in, you want to sell luxury homes or whatever area you want to, you still have to be a hard worker. I take my buddy Matt Laracy. That guy is the ultimate grinder.
Oh yeah.
And he's in the luxury market, man. And he will be the first to tell you. Listen, to those of you out there that are like, I want to get in luxury market, I want to do this, I want to do that. Listen to success. Don't listen to these clowns I see these ads all the time. Are you sick of making cold? I was listening to this lady the other day. Are you sick of making cold calls? I'm like, no. Are you sick of this? No. I'm responding to her ad. No, no, and no. You need to buy my listing labs thing, and this will end. I'm like, that's a bunch of bullshit, lady. I said, let me get your phone number. I'll call you right now, straighten you out, man. There's not one top producer that subscribes to that philosophy. Everybody builds their base. You have to have a base. And more importantly, too, is as a real estate agent, you better have a database, baby, because during the tough times, your database is going to supplement your income. If you want your business to be predictable or as predictable as possible, you have to check your numbers, know your numbers, and build a database and nurture that database. I mean, I've got a huge database of investors, wholesalers. I mean, that's what I specialize in, So, if you're a realtor out there and you've got a wholesale off-market property, call me because we'll buy it. You can reach me at 708-307-0777.
I love it.
Self-promotion, right?
Yeah, I would love it.
You know what? I mean, it's
but what you just did, do you know you're the first person to do that on the show?
Really?
You're the first person that actually, and like it's not enough to anybody.
Referrals.
It's a constant hustle, right? It's a constant staying in front of people.
Ask for referrals. Look, every person I tell my agents every day, ask for referrals. Reminder today, ask for referrals. Why? Because we are not wired to do that. It is not normal. It is out of our comfort zone. I mean, how hard is it for me to say to you, Tim, hey, if you ever run across anyone that is looking to sell their house, they need cash out immediately, and you say, hey, I know this guy, the king of the South Side, baby. See, I mean, how hard is that?
Frank.
And I'm bringing value. I'm gonna say, hey, man, give me a you got a buyer, give me a buyer. I'm just saying, hey, look, I got this value. I can make you look good too. If you bring somebody, you're like, I don't have a source for that. Oh yeah, the king. Let me call the king, baby.
I was on the phone with an agent recently, right? Mm-hmm. And it's okay, right? To find the goal is to find the holes in your business, right? If you, the goal is to ask for help.
It's always, yeah.
Constant growth. We're going through his business, and he's got all these closings, but in what I do is I code where things come from, right? I want to know, okay, you have closing. Where did you get the closing from? What was the action that created that closing, right? What did you do? How did you know? Was it a personal friend? Was it whatever? Right. We go through the whole thing, and I go, hey, man, quick question. You haven't received any past client referrals. Like, not one of these is a past client referral. And he goes, yeah. He goes, I haven't gotten any. And I said, you've got one?
That's crazy.
He goes, yeah, I feel like I did a really good job, and I unfortunately, I'm just getting referrals. And I go, sounds simplistic, but have you asked? Mm-hmm. He said, well, Tim, I'm struggling with that. I'm struggling with, I don't want to ask. And I go, okay, well, here's your script, right? And I walked him through how to politely and comfortably ask for a referral out of their database. Now you have to go do that now. That's my requirement. I'm going to follow up at the end of the day. You got to go do that now. You got 3 referrals that day.
Right.
You don't get what you don't ask for.
Exactly. And 100%. And, people, here's the thing. You need to understand, and I tell my agents, you need to understand that people want to give you business. They're just, very rarely do you have a high D personality. So when you get those, you recruit them, they're like, hey, you need to go see this guy. You need to go see Tim. You need to go, there's people that are just wired to do that. Majority of people, like I said, 10% of people are Ds. So if you get that person, you make them your friend and you stay in touch with them. Other people you have to call. And so how we do it is we come from value. So we don't just call and say, hey, man. Yeah. Hey, man, how you doing, man? You got any referrals for me today? No, we're like, hey, did you hear about the interest rates jumping down, man? Now's the time to buy. They're not going to be this low for a while. Or, there's this new program out, 100% down or whatever. We're coming with value. Do you know anybody that can use it? We do free home buyer seminars. We'll buy lunch. Could we come into your business and do that? We'd love to just do an educational series on home inspections or whatever we were running at the time. So it's always always come from value. I've never had anybody hang up with me. Now, if I come from, I'm just, every time I see them, hey, you got anything for me? I hate those people. When I see, when I see those people, I remember we had somebody at the golf course I belonged to. So I saw this guy coming down. He's in sales. And so this other guy that's the high D personality didn't want to confront with him. Didn't have his phone with him to pretend like he was on the phone. But he smokes cigarettes. So he took this cigarette pack and pretended it was his phone and was walking by. I fell out of my car. Got my golf cart. I was laughing so hard, man. But that's what you get. When you all you're doing is asking without bringing any value to the situation. People don't want,
If you take away one thing from this interview, I want you to rewind this, go back to what he just said. As funny as it is with the cigarette pack, if you're a loan officer and you're calling an agent asking them how their open house was, guess what? You're just reminding them of whether they failed or succeeded, and it's annoying. It's not something that's actually a value add. Our job in this industry, no matter what your role is to provide value. Mm-hmm. My job as a lender is to provide value to my agents. If I am not, I don't expect them to work with me. That's my responsibility. As a realtor, if you're not providing value to your clients, why do they work with you, right? Back to the beginning of this conversation, it's that you're in it for the commission, and it's obvious, right? The good agents, the ones that are passionate about these things, when they can't help but choke up a bit when they talk about these things, is because they care. They actually care about their clients. They're looking at it. They're measuring for the TV. They're doing all the things. They want you to know that they really have your back and they care about you. So when they're making phone calls, they're hey, listen, did you know this was a thing? Did you know that this was coming in your community? Did you know that taxes adjusted? Did you know whatever it is? Right. That's what you call with.
That's awesome.
Not just a hi.
Right. Yeah. Hey, give me what you got.
What do you got? Give me something. Right.
So here, I want to get into jump into if I was a new agent, or what I would recommend new agents to do. Okay.
Please do.
First of all, foremost is your mindset. Okay. Mm-hmm. And so, I would be remiss, where this is going, if I wouldn't. So what empowers me every day is my faith, which is my belief in my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ.
Me too.
And if you don't, if you don't have that backing, then I would seek that. And there's nothing more satisfying than knowing that I'm going to heaven. There's nothing more satisfying than knowing that I was woken up today for a reason.
Yeah.
And so that's what drives me. And then the next thing is once you understand that you're here for a reason that motivates you, then find out who you are. And you do that through the DISC test that we talked about earlier, mm-hmm. and the personality test. And then you match the job accordingly. Certain personalities do not fit well in certain jobs.
Right.
You don't want a high I personality being an admin because she'll talk the whole time and not get anything done. Right. So there's certain positions that require certain personalities. Sellers, if you're a high D personality, you work better with sellers. If you're high I, you work better with buyers.
Yeah.
Just the way it is, man. Personality, look, this is a big thing. So especially to you agents that came in when it was easy is gone. That bus, that train is gone now. What you see is going to be here for a long time. So the people that are going to make it in this business, Tim, are the hunters.
Yeah.
So
right.
When I went to work for Arthur Anderson, this was a game changer for me. When we went into we had a week-long training on their whole accounting system, how they did things. They had the first day, manager came in the room, and the managing partner goes, "Congratulations, there's 127 people in this room. Every one of you graduated in the top 1% of your class." Now I'm sitting next to a guy from Harvard and another guy from Wharton School of Business. So these guys, I was surrounded with some talent. And so he goes, "We're taking 1% of this room. We'll make managing partner." So I'm like, what? He goes, "Now I'm going to tell you what it's going to take. So I couldn't get my pen and pad out fast enough. He said, we look for, now, and keep in mind, there's overlapping of this. We look for the 1% of these 3 areas. Grinder. Some people might say, well, I'm definitely in this class. I mean, any class, I'm top,
right.
Minder, finder. So then I'm thinking to myself, I'm more of a finder, man. I'm a hunter, man. I go out and get the business. That's why I have a partner. And most people don't even know I have a partner, but we call him the ghost because he does all the minding part. I go get the business. Yeah. So, so if you're a minder, you're in deep doo-doo right now because the business is not falling off the trees. So you have to go get it. So 2 things. You can either join a team and they will provide that part for you, or you get a coach and they will help you hopefully, learn how to find business. So you've got to be able to find business because the key in a market like this is, in a down market like this, is you have to become proactive. You can't just sit there and catch everything falling off the trees anymore. It's
my biggest pet peeve. It's my biggest pet peeve is that the way that I was taught in this business was that I don't deserve a single thing. I have to earn it. And how I earn that is hunting, right? You go out there, and I don't care if you have to make 400 phone calls a day. You're talking to somebody that made 500, right? Like I cut my teeth as a young kid. I didn't deserve to be in this business, so I needed to earn it, right? And some people maybe have forgotten where they have come from, and their COVID messed everyone up. It diminished our skill sets. I'm going to say that again, right? It watered it down.
I'll tell you what, I hate to say this. As hard as I work, I realize that I even took my foot a little bit off the gas.
Yeah.
And everybody did, because it was just so easy that everybody became soft.
Yeah.
And the problem is, or softer, I should say. I mean, I still, my version of softer will still, will not be attainable by your average mere mortal. So, anyway, the thing I love, I love hard. The harder, the better.
Yeah.
Because what happens is a lot of agents will I mean, there's already a gazillion agents that have left the business, and many more to come. And this will be an epic year of agents leaving. We got the renewals coming up in March or April, and so that'll be telling right then.
We already have 61% attrition. It's really crazy.
It's
Everybody's talking about the renewals, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, it's nuts.
But this business is supposed to be hard.
Yeah,
right.
And so, you know what? It really shows if you're committed or not. It really shows what it's going to do. Is going to show do you really enjoy this business? Because I don't care how hard it is.
Yeah.
Because I'm a problem solver. If I have a deal fall apart, I'll go find another home for it. If somebody comes to me on one of my listings, their lender doesn't work out, I'll go find another lender, lock and load it in. I mean, I love that. I love saving deals, man. I love the harder the better, man. Make it hard.
We're going to work more and make less. So I'm just going to give you that honest answer. We're going to work more and make less. You have to be used to that. You'll be okay with it. More importantly, I would argue with you a minute, right? This isn't hard. Mm-hmm. This actually isn't hard right now. It's harder than COVID. You know what's hard? I was a mortgage lender in 2008. I started a business in 2008. Yeah. I had just come off of Countrywide, left there, went to Washington Mutual, left there, went independent during the worst crisis we've seen.
That was tough, yeah.
When you're taking phone calls from people that are going to lose their home and you don't have a solution for them because of what's going on, that's hard. Mm. This is, there's 27 offers on the place. Why are you going to win?
Yeah, right.
Like doing the hard work. But that should be part of your presentation. You should be refining those skills, refining your scripts. If you don't have a script, why? Right? You even said it. You've got a way that you put your business together professionally. If you don't, challenge yourself. Get a coach. Get in front of somebody to help you refine your skills. Because if you don't, you're going to think that everybody else is lucky.
And here's the deal with skills too. If you're not practicing your scripts, you're an idiot.
Yep.
And if you can't pump fake me with any excuses, because you can go online and on YouTube, and there are a bunch of guys that have great scripts out there. You can use them, you can memorize them, you can make them their own. I'm going to give you, I mentioned this to you, Carl, one of my favorite scripts.
Let's do it.
So, and I mean, to you agents out there, when someone says, hey, Frank, we really like your presentation, but we want to pray on it.
Yeah.
So what I will say is, who do you think sent me?
Oh,
and
right?
then I would say, now look, you folks, and this isn't a pump fake thing, because I truly believe this. You folks seem like the type of people that are already praying about this scenario. Am I right? Yes. They say yes, and I'm like, well, then who do you think sent me? I'm like, listen, I'm a man of faith. Can I pray with you? So then I would, in my prayer, I would remind them that, that God is with them, that Jesus is right next to them, and that they're, it's an honor to work with them, and just go right down the line and let them know that they're making a great decision, and the fact, and remind them that the fact that they're putting Christ first means that this is going to be a success. So I remind, and then we move. I'm like, okay, now look, we've got, we've prayed about it. We understand we have God's approval. Let's move to get this done before somebody else takes it away from you. God doesn't want you to lose this opportunity. So I mean, but that that gets a lot of laughs. When I pull the who do you think sent me?
Yeah.
Sent me. So that's there's. I'll tell you what, you can use that. You can go straight into let's pray. There's a ton of different ways to respond to objections, but you have to know, you have to have a game plan, and you have to be practicing. So what I used to do when I was more in production, because now I just hand a lot of the buyers to my clients and I work directly with investors. But how I did it was, and I would recommend, and actually now there's something different you can do too, which I used to get in front of a mirror, and I would look and see how I was projecting myself. Mm-hmm. And now we've got cameras. Now you can film yourself and freeze it.
Yeah.
And see, is my body language actually communicating what I want them to know? I'm not saying to lie to them or to pump fake them. I'm saying, but a lot of people get so nervous that they don't realize they're tweaking, or they've got a nervous twitch or whatever. Yeah. And that could make all the difference in the world.
Yeah.
I mean, people might be looking at you, and especially people that are comfortable with understanding body language, they might think this guy, a lot of times you can tell by people, this guy is not telling me the truth.
Yeah.
He looks like he's lying, or he doesn't look believable.
Right.
A lot of people want, they're going to look and see if you believe what you're saying, and you might not know. A lot of times people, like I'll film somebody like, oh wow, I didn't realize I was doing that. So I mean, you don't even realize some of your nuances. Yeah. So to agents, especially new agents in the business, start your scripts every morning. And here's another example too. So one of my agents on the team has VAs to call sellers.
So a virtual assistant. Yeah,
virtual assistants.
Yeah.
So assistants. He has them on scripts. He practices every morning with them. Mm-hmm. Virtual assistants.
Smart.
Who does that?
That's smart.
I mean, why not? So if and those are the people that are crushing in this business.
To unpack what you just said too, if you're somebody who does business over the phone, if you don't watch yourself in the mirror and you don't record yourself or listen to what you're doing, or listen, it takes courage. I'll be honest, it takes courage, because it's hard to listen to yourself, right? Even doing videos and those things, it's hard to see what other people see. But you have to have courage to do that. If you do not refine that by listening to what you're saying or what your body language is, even over the phone, I'm here to tell you, you will convey that through the phone and you won't even know it. If you're not smiling when you're talking to somebody, they can tell.
I love that.
Right? So it's an extremely important tactic, and I strongly recommend it. Let's get into the old school a little bit. I mean, you talk about some people being soft, right? And some of the let's unpack that, right? What do you consider somebody who's got grit, right?
So, I've got a guy on my team.
Yeah,
the number one guy, Aaron. So he has this ability, and it's just to keep going, no matter what the results are. And so he's learned. I've got him brainwashed to, like he said to me the other day, he goes, I had to tell you this. I had this deal where the seller was telling me, cancel the deal, and he showed me how he hung in there and fought, but he used excessive value and he showed the seller through value everything that we provided for him and why he's overreacting. And it's having that the people that are competitive, that don't quit, that want to win, those are the people that make it in this business. You have to develop that too. And how do you develop it? By actions, by working. What happens is when you start working, you're going to eventually start closing deals. Then you're like, hey, I like this closing deal. I want some more. I want some more, baby.
Some more.
So you start. What's the biggest motivational thing? Getting that paycheck and having money in your bank. And then you're like, now how do I get more? Now if you start counting your numbers and start looking at your percentages, your conversion numbers. You're like, why is this down this month? What am I? Oh, because I'm cutting corners. Let me go back to what works, like you said, old school.
Systematic approach. Yeah.
Right. All systems, and make sure that you follow the scripts. And the people that, the people that are resilient are people that stick to their goals, that they have a mindset. So
all right. So in mindset, you told me about this. Every once in a while, you'll pull out your phone. Yeah. You send a text message out to everybody on your team. What does it say?
I can't repeat some of the language that I say.
I was talking about war. You told me about war. Every once in a while, what? Explain that to me. Here's the problem. Sure.
Here's the obstacle, I should say. It's an obstacle that we're gonna crush. So what I believe is that there's two powers in this world, good and evil. I happen to call them God and Satan. So that's my language. So what happens is if I don't armor myself up, then I am going to feel the wrath of Satan. And the problem is this, is the average person goes with the flow. Man, I'm like, no, when I get done with my affirmations, I come out with my battle gear on and I'm like, bring it. Because, because the deal is this, there's going to be if I rely on results and everything external, then my life is going to be up and down. 1 minute I'm going to be happy, next minute I'm going to be sad. So what, rather than rely on something that's out of my control, Tim, I rely on something that's in my control. So I'm looking at my activities. Like I mentioned earlier, I got to stack my days. Just keep stacking my days. What are my days? My days are me focusing relentlessly on staying present and doing the activities. That's, then whatever is going on with me, deals falling apart left and right. If you have bills coming, where am I going to get the money? You're focusing on the negative doesn't get you paid. Right. Focusing on controlling yourself, controlling your emotions, and fighting off any distractions and recovering from any distractions. Oh, this deal fell apart. I needed it to pay my mortgage, or whatever the crisis is or the challenge is at the time. Just allowing that to ruin your day could prevent you from that one deal that's there for you. Mm-hmm. And because you decide to go off the tracks and entertain that which you cannot control. So here's one of my tenets and my mindset, my affirmations is that everything's fuel. So I have to brainwash my goal is to brainwash myself. My goal is to tell me how to think. I don't want other people to tell me how to think. I don't want my emotions to tell me how to think. I want me to tell me how to think. So one of my best things is fuel, man. So what I mean is everything is fuel. Something bad happens to me, I go faster. Something good happens to me, I go faster. A deal falls apart. We're going to replace that and get another one.
Yep.
So let's go. When you keep a positive attitude, an attitude of gratitude, I'm glad that this happened, because you know what? It's going to force me. It's going to wake me up to work with more urgency. So that's the other thing is top producers are constantly creating urgency. I know that I have to continually create an urgency through the day. I have pop-up reminders on my phone 5 times a day. One of the words is urgency. So I'm constantly feeding my mind urgency, go faster. If this deal doesn't work out, there's somebody else. If I don't move, somebody else is going to take my business away from me. If I don't move, my kids don't eat. If I don't move, I lose my house. If I don't, whatever the thought, I am going to feed my mind to go faster. And then if something bad happens, oh my gosh, that deal fell apart. You know what? I'm going to go replace that. I'm going to show everybody that I'm going to replace that and get another one. Yeah? Bring it. What else you got, Satan? Bring it, man. It's self-managing your success. It's not, people are like, if only the interest rates. What?
What?
Hey, dude,
right.
Wait a minute. Time out, folks. Time out. Hey, come with me back in time. Come with me back when I was selling homes when I first started off and the interest rates were 14.5%. Mm-hmm. Guess what? I was crushing it. Guess why? Because I worked and I didn't let that stop me. And what are you? Wait a minute. What are your interest rates for your credit cards? What? Yeah, but you're okay with that, and you're okay with your interest rate on your car payment, but for some reason the house is like, oh my gosh. And guess what, Tim? I've been in the business for 40 years. Guess what the average interest rate is over those 40 years? 7.74%.
So we're average.
So we're just,
we're
right. So when people go, oh my gosh, the rates are going so far up, they're normalizing because those rates were artificial. I won't get into why, into that whole scene, but that sub 3 was just a pump fake thanks to the government.
Yeah.
And so they created this mess.
Let it go. You reminded me of a conversation one time in the beginning of my career, right? What you just said. Because what you did was you just gave us a bunch of objections and how you would respond to those objections, right? Quickly. One time I went to make a phone call with a client, and I was saving this client well over $1,000 a month, right? And in the subprime days, you're dealing with somebody who maybe hasn't been coached financially. Maybe they're in a bad spot and they're looking for a lifeline and they don't know it. But $1,000 a month, we used to have a rule. Anything over 600, they're not going to do the deal because they get scared of that much savings. They feel like there's some hammer about to drop, right? It's something about it. Well, so I go call and I make a phone call and I'm so happy to present this deal. I'm like, I am saving you over $1,000 a month. This deal is life-changing. This is we can put everything together in a mortgage. You can write it off on your taxes where you're not getting that benefit. But now we're going to be able to change all of these things. They hung up on me. Right?
That's crazy.
I'm sitting there looking at the phone. And I go, what? Like, I'm mad. I'm like, I pull credit for a living. I'm looking at this going, you need this. So I looked at Tom, and Tom goes, he goes, what are you going to do now? I said, I don't know, man. And I was pissed off. And he goes, Tim, do you know how to do this? I said, yeah. And he goes, so you've been doing this for a while, right? And I said, yeah. And he said, so the person on the phone, do they know how to write a mortgage? I said, no. He said, so I want you to understand something. If you do not pick up the phone and get in an argument with that person, and they go into foreclosure, they get divorced, their kid doesn't go to college, is that their fault or yours? Because you're the skilled individual. You're the one that has the knowledge. It is your job, even if that means getting you into an argument with your client and upsetting them. But if you save them from the mistake they're about to make, that is your responsibility, not theirs. No, go get in an argument. I did. They were thankful. We got the deal done. But it's that's what you just said, is that when somebody comes up with an objection because they saw it on Facebook, right? It's our job as professionals to coach and educate, have a conversation, right?
Right. And to your point too, so what a lot of people don't know, and as I learned over time, is that selling, because I was like, I'm gonna show these people, like you need to do. Then what I realized is selling is really getting them to self-discover so they can make decisions. So, and I do that just by asking questions. How would it feel if 6 months down the road, you lost a house, and how would you feel, if you took a pass on this house and we come back next week and it's gone, and then you have to get something not as good as this. So, a lot of it is, as new agents. So, just jumping back in here in this pool for a second, we got the mindset, which I talked about. Then we have the coach, getting a coach or joining a team, man. Learn how to join a team of someone that you look up to, that you want to be like. Another thing too is you need to have at least 3 forms of lead generation, because what happens is, in this market, there's runs that happen. So maybe maybe door knocking's really good. Maybe at some time your database should be definitely one. Cold calling, open houses, door knocking. Those are the ones that have the highest returns for me and my team. Now there's a ton of different ways to home buyer seminars, all kinds of stuff that you can do to lead gen. But to every new person, you need to at least set up 3. I have agents say, well, I'm good. I don't want to do anything. I just want to do social media. So I pick up my phone. I'm like, all right. So you posted 2 weeks ago. I said, what? What do you mean social media? Well, I'm getting ready to do it. And I said, no, you're not. So don't lie to me, but more importantly, don't lie to yourself. I always tell agents, look, when they come in and they're like, I want to be a millionaire. I'm like, what I say to them? No, you don't. No, you're lying to yourself. You don't want to be a millionaire. Do you want to do what millionaires do? Because you don't want to be a millionaire. So let's talk about what you really want to be.
Yeah.
Give me your idea of what an average work day would be. And then they tell me, I'm like, that's not even somebody making 6 figures.
Yeah.
So you're gonna have to amp up your program. You have to amp up your workload a little bit. Working an hour a day, unless
most don't even know they're only working an hour a day. That's the thing. They don't know that there's only 1 hour that you actually did origination activities.
That is crazy, that you brought that up, because another thing that I've done is, and I took this off of Darren Hardy, from Success Magazine, and I recommend every person, new agents, old agents, do an audit. Every business has an audit. So Darren Hardy did his first audit of himself. So he took she did the Ben Franklin, came in the office, productive, 10 minutes, not productive, At the end of the day, he added up, out of an 8-hour day, he added up all of his production time. How much time do you think was productive? Just take a wild guess.
50%.
That's right. You would think that's legit, right? 20 minutes.
Whoa!
20 minutes was on productive activities. Now, here's the thing. Most agents are closer to that than they realize. And you talk about, how do I improve my business? I'm not do an audit and then change your activities. Even when people are in cold calling, they're not cold calling.
When we talk about old school, you and I talked about this, right? When people hear that and they're like, okay, whatever, like you're an old man, right? No. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that in the old school, we didn't have Facebook. In the old school, you talked about having quarters, right?
We didn't have a computer.
What we're really saying to you, I'm not trying to be offensive. What I'm trying to do is get you to think about the fact that maybe you're being distracted all day long with your activities. If you're scrolling Facebook, we didn't have that. If you're not making phone calls, guess what? There was nothing else on your computer except for making phone calls. That's what we did all day. Door knocking, doing the things that need to happen, right? Instead of think about it. Audit yourself, like you're saying, and figure out maybe you're not using the best use of your time. What do you do when you wake up? How do you start your day, right?
Looking for the magic pill. Sometimes it's right there in front of you when you look in the mirror. You are not really working productively. You are working on you're pretending to be a realtor. You're playing pretend realtor. You're not being a real realtor, and shadow, I would recommend shadow. Ask a top producer if you can shadow them and see what really happens. Shadowing will be the biggest wake-up call. And then, you know what? Another thing, too, is you can do is, I was just thinking about this now, too, with the phone. You can, when you have your call session, record yourself and then see how much time you're actually talking and how much time is actually productive as well, too. So those things are important. Get 3 forms. Listen, if you want to, where do I call? Go to Remind. Go to Remind. You can research. You can get absentee owners. There's just so many different things you can run and get a list of people to call. If you want to get sellers, if you want to get buyers, you can go straight to and then you can skip trace with Forewarn if you have Forewarn or True People Search. Get their phone numbers and call them and come from a point of excessive value. Get your that's another thing is figure out what your value add is and then bring that with you.
Yep.
You're selling value. You're selling to buyer. You're selling lifestyle. You're helping them achieve generational wealth. I mean, on the South Side, the majority of people don't save money. Their life savings is their house. When they sell it and move south or wherever, their money comes from the sale of their house. So
I would expand on that too. Is that if you're somebody who gets this data, right? What I have found is if you're somebody who spends a lot of time researching, be careful with that, because what you'll do is you'll spend all this time trying to figure out what you're going to say, and it cuts into your call time. One of the things we did was we implemented Phone Burner.
Yeah.
You can put a program called Phone Burner. You can plug all that data in. You push this thing on, and it's making calls. When you're done with the call and you click the button, it's on to the next call. It removes you getting in your own way of, okay, now I'm going to check email and now I'm going to do this. You can hit more things at the same time. Like, it is an incredible, don't spend all your time on Facebook and researching and looking up news and all that.
Yeah, right.
Make the damn phone
That's
call.
not productive, man.
Right.
In my last thing that I would recommend, and I could sit here for time.
Sure, yeah.
But this is the key right here. This separates the pros from the amateurs. 3 words: consistent follow up.
Yeah.
And if they say the fortune's in the follow up, that is so true. But you have to consistently and relentlessly follow up. Well, I called them. When did you call them? 2 weeks ago. Huh? I mean, you should be calling every day morning, noon, night, weekends, morning, noon, night, till you get a hold of them. Listen, this isn't like you're the president of the United States and you're going to get a call back. They don't know you. They may not. People may not. Usually don't return from people's phone calls. Call, text, email if you have it. Call, text, email. Morning, noon, night. Morning, noon. Just keep going until they finally say, hey, kiss off, or sorry, I've been real busy. Which is a lie, but it's just like they respond. A lot of people just take their time responding.
Yeah.
And you can't just do one call and expect. That's where a lot of agents fall. So one of the biggest takeaways is learn to follow up and be relentless and be consistent with follow up, and you will be successful. Yeah. And you will make it through this cycle. And understand too that the market is either going up and going down. So right now it's more of a downward trend, so to speak, or slightly downward trend. And know your markets too. So I want to add this one more thing: become an expert hyper locally. Mm-hmm. So people always ask me, how's the real estate market? I'm like, where? Chicago. Where?
Where? Right.
Where? Okay, Dalton. Where in Dalton? The north side of Dalton butts up to Harvey. The south side butts to South Holland. Where in Dalton? It becomes that hyper local. Knowing somebody, having an agent like myself that is anal retentive with these details makes a difference. Because then if you're investing in something and then you need to turn around and sell it, you're like, oh wow, man, I thought this thing was worth X amount of dollars. On that side of the town it is, buddy. Not on this side. Oh wow, why didn't my agent tell me that? So I mean, it's having, surrounding yourself with experts that are experts hyper locally can make or break your investments.
Yeah.
So those are the type of things that I would recommend agents, especially new agents. Make sure you are on point with all these items, and you will be successful. You will make it through. Be committed. Do like I was committed for a year, and I really didn't make a whole lot of money in my first 6 months.
Yeah.
After 6 months, it's just one day I'm looking at, I'm like, and this year now you can start a lot faster with all the technology and everything, and everything's online and stuff. People look online. Back then there was no. I mean, it's all old school. So after 6 months, I'm like, whoa! I just woke up one morning. How did I get all this business? It was just like yesterday. I had nothing.
Yeah.
I just had a rotary, and talk about rotary phones. I remember one time I said, I wonder how can I go fast. I was trying to see if I could click it back faster. I couldn't do that. I was trying every angle to call down faster. Because you have, you're talking about phone burner, you have the auto dialer, speed dialer, multiple line dialer.
Yeah.
We had one line dial, and it's like I mean, it was brutal, dude.
And you're losing time the whole time.
I'm
like, come on, let's go.
Yeah, I'm trying to pull the thing back. It wouldn't work. So it was what it was. But you can be successful with these items, and you really need to build your base, and you really need to have a core. Your core is not on the magic pill. You have to have business so that you can leverage business, and you could add on the bells and whistles, but you got to have the core business, man. You got to have a database. You got to be nurturing the database, and you got to have a 3 lead generation venues. This has to be your base, and it can never change.
Right. You
can add whatever you want to add on. You want to do social media, you want to do social media ads, you want to do Facebook ads, you want to do Google pay-per-click. Those are all great, and those are phenomenal, man. I love Facebook ads, but and we can go on and on. But you need to build a base as a new agent. You have, or even a regular agent, as you go into this cycle, you need to build a strong foundation. Otherwise, you will definitely be looking for another job.
Yeah, agreed, man. If you're still with us and you've taken notes, if rewind it back, there was so much to unpack here. Frank, iron sharpens iron, so one man sharpens another. My brother, thank you so much for being on here. Thank you,
brother.
for pouring into the community, and it was a pleasure.
My pleasure too, buddy.